So you open up the New Testament, and right there at the beginning, you get hit with not one, but four different stories about the life of Jesus. Four separate books that, let's be honest, can kind of blur together sometimes. But what if that's not the point? What if they aren't just repeats? What if each one is a unique, carefully crafted portrait designed to show us one incredible person from four totally different angles? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into. Here's the plan. We're going to start with the big puzzle. Why four Gospels in the first place? Then, we'll look at them in pairs to see these amazing contrasts. Matthew's king versus Mark's servant, then Luke's perfect man versus John's son of God. After that, we'll uncover this really cool layer of ancient symbolism that ties them all together, before we wrap it all up with one big unified message.
All right, let's get right to it. The fundamental question that people have been asking for, well, centuries. It's a pretty fair question, isn't it? I mean, why not just one official biography? Why do we have this four-part testimony? And this question, it gets even more interesting when you find out that
there were way more than just four Gospels floating around in early Christianity. We're talking dozens. You had a Gospel of Thomas, a Gospel of Peter, even a Gospel of Judas. So the fact that the early church looked at all of these and deliberately chose these specific four, and only these four, well, that tells you something really important was going on. So what was it? The answer is actually incredibly elegant. The four Gospels aren't a mistake, and they're not a contradiction. They're an intentional, perfectly integrated system. You know, think of it like this. You're trying to capture a magnificent building. You wouldn't just take one photo from the front, would you? No, you take one from all four sides to get the complete picture. That's what's happening here. And here it is, the master plan laid out. Each writer had a very specific audience they were trying to reach. So Matthew, he was writing to a Jewish audience presenting Jesus as their long-awaited king. Mark was writing to the Romans, so he showed Jesus as a powerful, suffering servant. Luke, he's talking to the Greeks, and he portrays Jesus as the ideal, perfect man. And then there's John, who wrote for everyone, for the whole world, to reveal Jesus as the Son of God. Okay, so let's see how this actually plays out. We're going to start with the first pair, which gives us two sides of Jesus that seem like total opposites, the majestic king and the humble servant. Matthew's whole mission is to prove to his fellow Jews that Jesus is the one. He's their Messiah. It's like he's a lawyer building an airtight case, laying out all the evidence, all the credentials to prove that Jesus is the legitimate king. And this is where you can really see the different strategies. Look at Matthew. For him, the family tree is everything. He starts his book by tracing Jesus' line all the way back to King David and Abraham. Why? To prove he had the legal right to the throne. His gospel is full of what Jesus said, long teachings, and he constantly repeats this phrase, to fulfill what was spoken by the prophet. Now Mark, he's writing to Romans. They cared about action, not ancestry. So he does the total opposite, no genealogy at all. I mean, who cares about a servant's pedigree, right? His gospel is all action. It's fast, it's punchy, and his favorite word is immediately. He focuses on what Jesus did. And that quote just nails it for Mark. His book is all about power, action, and getting the job done. It was designed to grab the attention of that practical Roman mindset. So you have the king, and you have the servant. Two completely different portraits of the very same person. And the incredible design just keeps going with our next pair, Luke and John. And here, the contrast is just as stunning. We get to see Jesus' perfect humanity right next to his mind-blowing divinity. Luke was a doctor, a man of science and detail. He was writing to the Greeks, a culture that was fascinated with the idea of the perfect human. So he paints this incredibly rich human portrait of Jesus. He shows us his compassion, we see his prayer life, and he's always highlighting Jesus' concern for the outsiders, the poor, the sick, the forgotten. This comparison is just amazing. Luke traces Jesus' family tree all the way back to Adam, the very first man, to make the point that Jesus came for all of us. His focus is on what Jesus felt. But John's gospel just soars into outer space. His genealogy doesn't start with Abraham or Adam. It starts before time itself. In the beginning was the Word. His focus isn't on what Jesus felt, but on who Jesus was, the eternal, divine Son of God. So Luke gives us the perfect, relatable human, and John gives us the divine, pre-existent God. John doesn't pull any punches. He writes his entire book for one reason, so that we can see Jesus' true divine identity. So there we have it, the king, the servant, the man, and the God. But believe it or not, the design goes even deeper than that. Okay, now we're going to peel back a layer that shows an even more incredible design at work. This is something that connects these four portraits to some of the oldest and most mysterious symbols in the entire Bible. So you have to wonder, is all this just a happy coincidence? Or is there a deliberate pattern here? Well, according to some of the earliest Christian thinkers, the answer is a definite yes. They saw a pattern that was woven right into prophecy itself.
As early as the 2nd century, guys like Irenaeus were pointing out this incredible link between the four Gospels and the four mysterious living creatures that you read about surrounding God's throne in the visions of Ezekiel and in Revelation.
And this is the connection they saw. It's so elegant. Matthew's Gospel is the lion, Mark's is the ox, Luke's is the man, and John's is the eagle. So why these specific animals? What's the connection?
Well, let's start with the lion. The lion was the symbol of the tribe of Judah, the royal tribe, the tribe of King David, where the Messiah was supposed to come from. It's the perfect symbol for Matthew's Gospel, which shows Jesus as the powerful lion of the tribe of Judah, the true king.
Then you have the ox. An ox is all about strength, hard work, and service. It was also a primary animal for sacrifice. This perfectly fits Mark's portrait of Jesus as the strong, suffering servant who came to work and to give his life for others. The face of a man, well, this one's pretty clear, right? It represents everything Luke wanted to emphasize. Perfect humanity, compassion, intelligence, our shared experience. It points directly to Luke's picture of Jesus as the relatable, perfect Son of Man. And finally, the eagle. Of all creatures, the eagle flies the highest. It sees everything from a heavenly perspective. What a perfect metaphor for John's Gospel, right? The one that soars above everything else to give us this divine, heavenly view of Jesus as the eternal Son of God. So let's bring all of this home. What's the big takeaway from this incredible four-part design? You see, the Gospels aren't in conflict with each other. They're in concert. They are four parts of a single symphony, presenting a Savior who is so big, so complex, so multifaceted, that no single book could ever hope to capture all of who he is. He's the king, the servant, the man, and God, all at the same time. And this whole idea leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. Each gospel was perfectly tailored for its original audience. So if someone were to write a gospel today for our world with all of our unique questions and anxieties, what portrait of Jesus would we need to see? What aspect of him would need to be emphasized the most? It's definitely something we're thinking about.